Okay, planning commission meeting for July 22nd, 2026 will now come to order at 6 p.m. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. We move on to a roll call to get started. Commissioner Justin Rank, Commissioner Matu Badilu, Commissioner Sarah Taylor, and Commissioner Siri Erickson Brown present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum present. We do have a motion to approve. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion approving tonight's planning commission agenda? Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes and tonight's agenda is approved. Moving on to the next item here, good of the order. Is there anything for the good of the order? Good of the order, the brief time for commissioners to raise general matters relevant to the commission, but are not formal agenda items requiring action. Hearing nothing further, we will move on to the next item. We're going to move on to approval of the minutes. So the minutes from the July 8th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting have been drafted and are included in the meeting packet. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve the July 8th, 2026 minutes as presented?
I'll move.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Fantastic. It's moved and seconded to approve the July 8th, 2026 minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes and the minutes are approved. Moving on to city staff announcements. Do we have any announcements this evening for the planning commission?
No announcements from staff. All the code amendments are plugging along. As you can tell by the very thick packets that we've asked you to review and look at. And just to remind everybody, the abagraphs is tonight at Summer Stage. So we will try to go through things as efficiently as possible.
Cool. All right, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? Okay, hearing no further questions, we will proceed to public comment. Do we have any comment from those in attendance tonight? Under current city policy, public comment is accepted from those physically present at the meeting. Those attending remotely may not provide oral public comment through Zoom. Did the city receive any written public comments to be provided to the planning commission? Is there anyone else here who wishes to provide public comment? Okay, hearing none, public comment is closed. Next item on the agenda here is the presentation. Presentation is regarding the DMC 14.50 sign code amendments, the review and discussion, and I will now turn the meeting over to city staff for the presentation.
Good evening, all. Director Robady of Community and Economic Development Department. So this evening's sign code discussion is just a continuation of previous discussions now that we've had some feedback from both Planning Commission and City Council. And we now have a drafted banner policy that was in the packet. I'm sure you all read it very, very closely. So just to provide a little bit of background, because I know it's been a minute since we last did this, and I will get through it as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. So, okay, sorry. So background, we have to do this because we have content in our temporary signs regulations that's not content neutral, and we don't want to be violating the Constitution. Next slide. So these key changes are to not be violating the First Amendment, and to clarify and streamline some regulations and minor modifications to migrate murals out of temporary signs and have them in their own section. Next slide, please. So we're now looking at having form-based regulations instead of content-based regulations, and this will keep us out of legal trouble. Did not update. So banner policy, technically in progress until adopted. We are much further along with actually having one drafted. Next slide. So we have better user friendliness. We now have rules that are much easier to follow than just like dense text that you have to get through. So much more user friendly for both staff to help people work through and for people to try to read through on their own, minimizing the break. Next slide, please. So for murals, these are going to be regulated as art. There will be some design review just to make sure that because these are public art, that they are embracing Duvall. Next slide, please. So unchanged, the permanent signs, those categories, those sign allowances, not anything that's being changed as part of this update. Next slide. So as part of the outreach with the temporary sign changes, we had a couple of workshops. The first one was on June 16th. It was mostly focused at nonprofits. They didn't have any feedback or required or requested edits to any of the banner sign regulations. Next slide, please. Then we had a subsequent workshop on July 7th. This was focused more for discussion with real estate agents. They want more signs, which I'm sure no one is shocked. They wanted more A-frame boards, but we were concerned about, cluttering up sidewalks, visual blight, all that. So this is what they requested, a greater density of the stake signs that are in like the landscape strips. And so staff is not recommending changing any of those sections. The only part that staff didn't have any heartburn over was reducing a setback. And this specifically, what they were thinking of are the arm signs, the traditional real estate for sale sign that you see with the swinging thing. They requested that those be at 3 feet instead of 5 feet. And then to just have 3 feet in general instead of 5 feet so that it's consistent across the board. That is something that doesn't feel problematic. Other than that, staff is not recommending changes to any other part of these sign regulations. So something that Plan and Mission can think about. Next slide, please. So the community banner policy that's in the packet, we flushed out details on eligibility, what types of events could be considered. This is city messaging. So first and foremost, city messaging. And so it has to be something that the city wants to message and feels comfortable doing so. So making sure it's not political, not religious, it's open to everybody. There's no fees associated with it. So that's what we're looking for, full community invitation and acceptance and welcoming to these events. And then there was some cleanup that needs to happen. We had a typo about 30 square feet for the fence signs and the pole banner signs that needs to be deleted out. That was accidentally added. And then a clarification on duration that the 2-week, 14-day period would be per event, just so that things like summer stage. There's many events through, summer stage events. So the summer stage banner should be up for more than 14 days because it's multiple events. So that sort of thought. So there was internal coordination within staff as well, so that the city wasn't shooting itself in the foot with these regulations. Next slide, please. So we hope that take a look. So it's mostly the banner policy that's different. There hasn't been any other changes to the code. So if you are comfortable with all of this, I am jumping ahead of myself. Sorry, future code updates. Not part of this phase, but that sign code really needs an overhaul to the permanent signage allowances. So be ready. Next slide. So if you could provide any feedback or a thumbs up by July 31st, then we'll be getting this back for public hearing. We'd like to notice for public hearing as soon as possible for August, Planning Commission and City Council, so we can get this project done. Any questions?
I agree with not questions.
You have the floor.
So I'm okay with the temporary signs. And I did see the questions from the real estate agents. So did they specifically ask like this is how many signs we want to put throughout the community or not?
They want, if you go back to the workshop slide from July 7th, they want 5 A-board signs for each, what they refer to as each event. And there was a lot of requests for, but our events are like only for a few hours and but so there was a lot of, but since it's for a real estate open house, I can't regulate content. It's all or nothing. It doesn't matter what it says in there. It's something physical in the right of way that you are looking to place. That's why we don't want to have 5 per event, because that can get out of hand really fast. There was concern that people who follow the rules will be at a disadvantage to those who don't follow the rules. Yes, that's life. Yeah. So I can't make people behave. I can only encourage them to do so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have a question about the permanent one, but you said we have to wait, right?
If you have any ideas,
Uh-huh.
general public, anybody has ideas for what should be different in the regular sign code, avril.beatty@duvall.gov. Please let me know. There it is, right, for improvements. And we do have like a running list of code changes we want to make anyways. So any ideas people have, we are happy to.
I will have them too. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know it's kind of was to get through, so like appreciate it. Any other planning commissioners have any questions? Okay, any other further discussion? Okay, hearing no further discussion, staff has the commission's comments and direction. We will move on to the next agenda item.
Oh, block the camera. Hi everyone. So thank you for coming today. My name is Morgan Dorner. I'm a principal planner for the city of Duvall. We'll kind of jump into presentation. If you could do that presentation view. The window, the top. Yeah, that one. Showing up my other screen. Give me a second. It'll connect in a moment. So, all right. So tonight's open house, it's intended to provide an overview of the comprehensive plan update and also the zoning code amendments that we're looking into. We're going to explain why we're doing this work, what's changed since the last comprehensive plan update, and also what the proposed updates include and the opportunities for public comment and process in the future. So after the presentation, you're going to have an opportunity to visit several kind of like stations and whatnot in the front room over there. You may have seen some poster boards we have set up for you to take a look at. So yeah, we can move on from the slide if it's, I hope it's connected. All right. So All right, so generally as part of outreach for this open house, we were present at the Duvall Farmers Market. We have also posted on the city's website. We made a project page for the website as well that will have a link to. If you've seen any ads from before, it should have included that. And then social media, some flyer handouts, and then some consistent communication with city council about the update and whatnot. So we can move forward to this. So just wanted to say tonight's opportunity to hear directly from residents before any recommendations move forward. So we're just kind of taking input and listening to anything you gotta tell us. So as far as the format for this, so right now we're in the presentation part, but so staff will have a presentation of the comprehensive plan update, and then we have our consultant DHC that's online. We'll do a presentation of the development code updates. So what we have, so as far as once the presentations are complete, we're going to encourage everyone to walk around and visit those stations and take a look at what we've got for you so far. All right, so move forward. All right, and then just to clarify, because this is kind of within planning commission meeting, which is a little more unique than a walk in and take a look at posters type of thing. So for planning commissioners tonight, you're primarily here to listen and learn and what questions and concerns the community has. You're welcome to answer procedural questions, but won't really be like discussing the merits of the proposal or deliberating outside of the public meeting, because we're going to be in the separate space and want to keep those types of things on the recording for public review and record. So so that's kind of just give you an understanding of how to operate within this unique environment. So we'll move forward from here and jump into the update. So yeah, so next slide. All right, so wanted to give you a little bit of background into this as part of this being one of our first meetings for this, that we want to give some education and a little bit of understanding or common understanding. So Washington State's Growth Management Act requires cities like Duvall to periodically update their comprehensive plans. The city's comprehensive plan serves as the long-term vision, guiding decisions about housing, transportation, parks, utilities, over approximately the next 20 years. That's just what we plan out to. So Duvall actually updated their comprehensive plan last year, but that plan was later appealed by the Department of Commerce. So as a result, the city is now updating portions of that comprehensive plan and our development regulations to address issues and ensure compliance with the state law. It's a little bit of a unique thing. And we can move forward to the next slide. So this is one of the common questions that I think we'll get from people out of this process, because we did a pretty elaborate, usually when we do a comprehensive plan update, we have pretty elaborate public process with it. So if you are familiar with that from before, you might want to know why we're here again within a year's time. So just to give you a sense of the timeline here, back about a year ago, council adopted the comprehensive plan. Later that fall, Commerce issued a petition for review. That was to the Growth Management Hearings Board. So basically that kicked us into well, I'll just kind of outline here is kind of the findings that they gave us for that. So what we have to do is basically, rather than entering into a lengthy legal process, the city of Duvall worked with Commerce to come up with a work program for the next year to get us in line with the state requirements. So that's kind of what we're working on right now as far as timelines and why we're here. So just kind of move to the next slide. All right. So basically the appeal process with Commerce, it's a compliance process. So if the city doesn't resolve the issues or portions of the comprehensive plan, could be our portions of portions of our comprehensive plan can be invalidated by the state, and the city would be subject to enforcement actions and potentially lose certain state funding. So that would be either tax revenues or grants that provide funding for certain city activities and whatnot. So most of the work that you're seeing tonight, it's going to be driven by State Growth Management Act requirements and the technical analysis to support that rather than any new policy direction from the city. So the goal here is pretty straightforward. It's to make the necessary updates, remain compliant with state law, and continue planning responsibly in Duvall. And we can go on to the next slide. All right, so we'll kind of go into, here's an outline of what we're updating as part of those things. So we have 5 primary tasks. It's going to be updating land capacity analysis, ensuring housing is planned for all income levels, addressing identified housing or employment capacity gaps, and updating our development regulations to align with the comprehensive plan. And the final step to that is really the timeline step of we've got to complete this work by the end of 2026. So much of tonight's conversation and then a lot of the work that we're going to do with this is really around what are the state requirements and how do we get into compliance with those. So I just move on to the next slide. All right, so one of the more visible parts of the process is going to be the future land use map. It's the thing we're going to look at the most. The map guides zoning and ultimately where different types of development will or may occur over the next 20 years. It's important to remember this is a planning document. It doesn't mean that properties will immediately change or redevelop to this. So it's basically establishing a long-term vision over the next 20 years for development. So we can go into, and that map as well is included in the posters over here if you want to take a good look at it. And I will note also with that, that map is actually pretty much the same as the map from last year's update that was sent to Congress as well. So there's really not much of a change in zoning with that, or future land use designation with that. All right, so we've got a couple of things to help us out with supporting the work that we're doing and materials that we'll pull from. So that's King County's Urban Growth Capacity Report, Land Capacity Analysis. This is essentially an updated analysis from what we did last year from our consultant. And then we'll go through SEPA environmental review. And that process is going to essentially, it'll include our levels of service study and transportation impact analysis, and Public Works is here to answer to those things a little more than I think because they get very technical. So, but public review also will occur from other state agencies, tribes, other jurisdictions. School districts is one thing to remember too. They do take a look at the land use changes that we do to providing comments about capacity and plans and whatnot. Services, utilities, organizations, and you guys. So yeah, we'll move forward from here. All right, just give us a sense of timeline here of where we are and where this work started. So a lot of the groundwork from this came pretty much after we adopted in July 2025. And through that timeline, we've been working with the state, but also kind of working through the plans and figuring out what's going on, what are our gaps, and how are we really going to game plan this and address it. So tonight's open house is also on this list, but we'll have quite a few other opportunities for engagement throughout the process as well. And this won't be the only open house too, if you want to meet us later in the timeline. And we can go to the next slide here. And so from tonight, we're going to basically, staff is going to kind of take note of the comments made, any kind of concerns or suggestions you have, questions. That's going to help us with making sure this document and process is well informed, but also that we're addressing any concerns and making sure that we're not missing something here. So then we'll go through and revise our documents and drafts and things as needed, and then we'll go through planning commission public hearing process. That'll be another opportunity to comment. And then if we do get a recommendation from planning commission, then we'll move to city council for their hearings as well. So yeah, you can go on to slide here. And I'll bring this back up at the end of the presentation after BHC goes. But this is kind of a QR code to our project webpage. If you want to stay updated on things, if you want to see documents for yourself and to go through, this would be the place to do it. We're also going to continue to update that throughout the process with any additional engagement activities or really any new information that we get along the way. So yeah, and then, well, we don't need to back up, but if you do want to be included directly and messaged about additional opportunities, you can ask to be on our interested parties list either by emailing the email that was on there, it'll come up again, or there are some sign-up sheets for your contact information where we'll save that and you'll get all the notifications you need. So, all right. I'll let BHG kind of talk to you guys about development code dates.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right, so my name is Talia Tittlefitz. I'm a senior planner at BHC Consultants. I'm joined by Eli Mulberry, who's also one of our planners, and we have an on-call contract with the city of Duvall to provide ongoing planning services. And in the last several months, we've been called up to help out with some of the code writing. So one of the things to know about the comprehensive plan appeal is that one of the conditions of lifting the appeal is actually adopting changes to Title 14 to effectively remove barriers to enacting the comprehensive plan policies. And a lot of times this happens a little bit more of a leapfrog fashion where the comprehensive plan is updated and then the zoning code gets updated in order to enact comprehensive plan policies and community vision. But because of the appeal, the state has said you really need to go ahead and address sort of the bare minimum zoning code barriers at the same time so that everything gets adopted together. So these zoning code updates are effectively required in order to lift the comprehensive plan appeal and are also on the same timeline as the comprehensive plan appeal that Morgan just showed you. So where we started with the zoning code amendments is, let's see, you can go ahead and advance the slide. Thank you. So a lot of the zoning code amendments have their basis in the land capacity analysis that the city hired Burke consultants to do last fall. So sort of an up-to-date assessment of what is the capacity in Duvall to meet the housing goals and targets. So as a result, a lot of as much as we would love to help you rewrite your whole zoning code, we really did focus on exactly sort of surgically amending only the parts of the zoning code that we have to in order to help you lift your comp plan appeal. And so this primarily impacts density and a few updates to some of the zones. You'll see as we go through, a lot of the amendments are specifically about increasing capacity for housing. So if the city has a goal, we have to make sure that the code doesn't prevent Duvall from reaching that housing goal. We have some sort of a cluster of amendments, some of which already were adopted last fall and earlier this year to allow middle housing. and we'll talk a little bit about what middle housing means. There are some directives also to protect manufactured home parks, and this is sort of a critical slice of housing that is, quite frankly, affordable. And then other actual updates to the state legislature that require Duvall to allow emergency housing and shelter housing. So we'll get into the details on all of those. That's sort of the overview of what the updates to Title 14 look like. We can go ahead and advance to the next slide. Thank you. One of the requirements for the comp plan appeal is looking back at Duvall's housing action plan. So in 2023, Duvall wrote a housing action plan that had very involved and robust citizen engagement and feedback. The result of that feedback was a really comprehensive list of housing policies. And the state said, you have this great housing action plan. We want to see that not only are those housing policies incorporated to the comprehensive plan, we want to see some of those housing policies. We want to see evidence that those housing policies have also made it into the zoning code as well. So one of the posters that you'll see during the open house goes through some of the specific housing action plan policies. They're like housing action plan policy 1.8 or 1.5, and then the corresponding proposed change to the zoning code to try to move forward and help implement the policy language from your own HAP. And the other thing that is worth noting is that there was really robust citizen involvement in both the Housing Action Plan and in the 2024 Comprehensive Plan. So if it feels like, so this citizen involvement here is a little bit less information in because we already have a lot of information from past involvement. And this is more making sure that we're being transparent and open about what the changes are that we're required to do to meet the state mandates. So next slide. Okay, so one of the things that we have to do with the zoning title 14 changes is make room for housing that is affordable. And what exactly does that mean? Oh my gosh, that's a typo. Okay, so we need, sorry about that. Okay, so there's the typo, if you can spot it, is that we need to have room for 890 new homes by 2044, not 2944. I apologize for that. So over the next 20 years, we need to make sure that the code sort of expands the capacity for what can potentially be built. And of those 890 homes, 675 of those need to be allowed to be built in ways that are affordable to low and moderate incomes. And according to recent King County area median income, this basically means affordable to folks with an annual income of $100,000 per year or less. So not necessarily, so I mean, I think that that's a fairly like reasonable understanding of like what affordability means in King County and Duvall. Next slide. Effectively, if you see on the left side of this slide, currently the zoning code allows quite a lot of, has quite a lot of capacity for new detached single family homes, for new townhouses. What we need to sort of expand capacity for by changing the zoning code is for these things in the middle that sort of decrease in sort of cost of units per acre. Decreasing in cost per unit and increasing in the number of units you might be able to get in an acre. And the density at which these can be built really depends. There's generally a wide range of density. It also depends on, obviously the zoning code can really only open sort of remove barriers to these being built, but it's up to individual landowners to make the choices to build something like a duplex or an ADU or a triplex. And but we just have to make sure that the zoning code doesn't prohibit these types of housing. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So sort of digging into what we actually did with the zoning code, we effectively consolidated chapters 1412, 1414, and 1416 into a single new chapter called 1415 that is going to be it will be called residential zoning districts. Um, and then these, so that's highlighted in green. And then we combined all these other districts on the left that are highlighted in blue into a new chapter 1420. So you can see on the left, chapter 1420 used to be Midtown Zoning District, or currently is Midtown Zoning District. In the proposed changes, that will be repealed and will be replaced with a mixed use zoning districts chapter that covers all of these zoning districts, with the exception of the Riverside Village zoning district, which is not currently mapped and will be deleted from the list of zones. Then there are a couple of new chapters, 1447 on affordable housing and 1449 on step housing. And we will talk a little bit more about what step housing is sort of in the presentation. So that's how we're proposing that these, yes, there will be some changes to the AD, well, I guess not any changes to the ADU chapter. Anyway, so this is how the zoning code changes are proposed to go forward in one packet altogether so that there's consistency in writing and voice, and we don't accidentally create gaps or inconsistency for how these districts are regulated by the city. Okay, next slide. And one of the big changes is instead of allowing a range of densities to allow minimum densities. So for example, the zone MU12 would be changed to MU20 with a new minimum density of 20 dwelling units per acre. And MUI will be changed to MU30. This is mixed use 20, mixed use 30, with a minimum density of 30 dwelling units per acre. And this is one of the ways that this was basically a recommendation that came out of the land capacity analysis by Burt Consulting. And one of the ways that we need to make these changes to allow these increased densities in order to meet the state requirements for the comprehensive plan appeal. And I'm gonna go ahead and pass this over to Eli. Go ahead, Eli.
Hi, everyone. So one of the things that came out of the lawsuits among other jurisdictions out of Mercer Island is that it's not just enough to change your zoning code to allow these housing types. You also need to make sure your zoning code has incentives in place to enable the type of affordability. The reality is that the saying goes, you can't build new old housing, so you can't build new housing that will be the same price point as an older unit that might be more naturally affordable just by its age. And so a couple of tools in order to get there, to reach compliance, to show that you've done the work for providing these incentives. And this is identified in the Housing Action Plan, is a tool called inclusionary zoning that was identified. And on one of the posters, there's a decision tree to kind of go through all of the options on this. But for the sake of not duplicating that, I'll just summarize kind of what that means. So there's two kinds of inclusionary zoning programs. There's a mandatory program, which essentially says the city is upzone, allowing more density. And so in return, you need to provide affordable units on your as part of your development or project, and to capture that potential increase in property values, since the government's enabling this added density, there's an exchange there. So through a mandatory program, usually a developer would either provide a certain percentage of units that were earmarked for affordability, or they would provide a fee in lieu. And those are kind of spelled out in details. The other option is a voluntary program where a city will provide incentives, usually density, height, or some similar incentive through zoning, and say, okay, builder, you can have this extra incentive, but in return, we expect a certain number of your units to be listed as affordable. And so there are a couple trade-offs to each of these programs. The mandatory program, you're essentially guaranteed those units that are affordable. But there's a trade-off with, it's an added item for a builder or developer to provide. So there might be impacts to overall housing supply production as a result of that. Whereas the voluntary program, you don't really have that constraint, but you might not get as many affordable units. So there's a trade-off there between both of those programs. And I would encourage you to look at the poster that has kind of a decision tree on it. We can go on to the next slide. So some tools for as far as looking at both the voluntary program and also programs that could be used in conjunction with inclusionary zoning program would be some height bonuses, some density bonuses that on top of the existing allowances, a multifamily tax exemption program, which would essentially provide a tax break to help fund the construction of affordable units. Some of these, I believe, the impact fee waiver, project application fee waivers. So these are all just kind of part of the suite of options that a jurisdiction can kind of control and provide to encourage and incentivize greater affordability. We can go to the next slide. So switching gears a little bit, step housing, which includes like emergency shelters, transitional housing, emergency housing, and permanent supportive housing. A lot of these are both to enable the capacity for your lower income target of households, but it's also the changes that we've proposed or have been proposed in this part of the code edits is strictly to meet some of the new state requirements. So if you advance to the next slide, the two main key components of the state laws is that they should need to be permitted in residential zones to ensure sufficient capacity. And the second part of this is part of a newer law that passed, is that you can't have certain restrictions on step housing that are more restrictive than other types of residential development in the same zone. So lastly, I think what was updated as part of this effort is the parking codes. Some of this, again, were to meet strict state law requirements around parking. For example, co-living, there's some allowances for tandem parking, and similarly the step. And then there was some flexibility to allow added to adjust parking based on if a project provided a study. And this was proposed, I think it's been largely from staff and the engineer to help, since a study would usually be required anyway. And there's also some flexibility or reduced parking minimums for some affordable housing reduction. So in exchange of providing affordable units, there would be a reduced minimum for some of those.
All right, so that should close us out on presentation time. So at this time, you can get up, walk around, check out the poster boards. Staff will be over there if you have any questions. And I think we have to keep the meeting technically, or
Yeah, we'll get the recording going.
we'll keep
And there will be more, we're gonna figure out like other like open houses and presentations availability at like the farmers market, more chances for people to if you want to swing by the permit center, we'll figure out some dates to have things set up so that we have multiple availability so people can ask questions. Yes.
Hi, I do have a question because I think the public comments would have been useful after the presentation. Right now, I have tons of questions and I'd love to address it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
But I think it would have been nice in this setting because it can be a community conversation and then it's gonna be little groups. So I'm not sure I understand the.
we want to have the more direct conversations versus public presentations, right? We want to be able to talk with people with the information.
Well, that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, the public is more important because when you have one-on-one conversation, that's not for the whole community. And that's.
This is our common future.
But she also wants to be able to make sure that her questions get answered and it's in the public record.
Correct.
Oh, so we will have public presentations that are the traditional planning commission agenda item with like public testimony. Any questions that are sent to staff are part of the public record. So this is just we're gonna have like different ways and different type of events to have these discussions. So the intent of this one is to have the discussions in the front row.
I'd like to understand when it's the right opportunity to talk as a community. I took time off to come here. There's barely any notice for these meetings. And then the decision needs to be made before the end of the year. So when it's October and we're having a community discussion, I don't think this is the right time. It's too close to the deadline. So when are we able to have a community decision and a community conversation? I'm sorry, but this is like July, August, September. I have no idea and there's very little information.
So we'll have, this isn't the only open house we're gonna be doing. This is the first one upon a series that we're gonna be doing. So a lot of this is informational and first touch type of things. So that's why we're presenting the information that it is. You can kind of get like an understanding of it, but we'll take public comments and include it into the record. We're also gonna have multiple public hearings, which will be a part of the official record and then for planning commission to then deliberate on.
I just wanted to mention, I was looking over there and I don't see any of the actual updates to Title 14, like the dimensional standards, the height changes, the density. There's no comparison to what it was before, what it's gonna be. It's just kind of like some high level buzzwords like inclusionary housing and different things like that. Council and have had the actual Title 14 draft for a long time. There's a lot of details and it is very different than what is currently in our code. And I don't see anywhere over there that's helping the community understand, like, here's what's changing. It used to be 2 stories uphill, and if it was a tuck under, you could get a 3rd story. It used to be 35 feet high. Now it's 55 with a 10-foot bonus. there is not a single thing that's showing anyone all of these changes, and that's the meat that the community wants to know about.
So how, this is the kind of feedback that we will elicit tonight and be able to, the next time we have a public hearing or we have an open house, we'll be able to provide that information.
But Title 14, the draft wasn't even included at the link or anywhere. There's not even a copy of it sitting on the counter. This is supposed to be learning about Title 14 proposed changes, and there's not even a copy anywhere in the building.
This is the first touch. I appreciate what you're saying. This is the first touch. So we will make it better. We will incorporate what you're saying. We'll make it better for the next time. But this is the first touch. So we'll listen to what you have to say. And then we'll be able to make it better for the next time. But all we're trying to do is present the best that we can the first time. These are big changes. We have to do it on what usually typically takes 2 to 4 years to do. We have to do in 1 year. So we're doing the best that we can, and we will make information more readily available to you at the next open house. And we can make better poster boards that have some of those examples.
And this is high level because the mandate that we've been given is we have to do high level document updates as well as zoning code updates all at the same time. And so we've been having discussions about the zoning code with both planning commission and city council. But we gotta get caught up in our, high level, long range planning document as well. So that's why we have this tonight, is to focus more on the high level, long range documents.
The meeting said Title 14.
They're so tied together, even though they are separate documents. And yeah, the time crunch is challenging.
So when you said that the email was public, what happens when you don't get response to email? So when you email and you have a concern or you have a question and the city does not respond, then there's nothing for anyone to read because you don't respond.
Have you sent emails to the planning?
Yes.
Yeah, no, fine.
Are you sending, which email are you sending?
I can go back and look, but it's been over a period of.
With you and them at the permitting department.
Yeah, we can look at that when we get back and then see what happened.
And my email also said if this is not the right person, please forward this to the person that I need to speak with, and I had no response.
This dates back many years.
Okay, so
apologies.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Country Roni. On the invitation from the city, it says, you'll be able to ask questions and learn about the next steps in the planning process. So can we start asking questions here as the group? Because it sounds like the group consensus. Yep. From the members here are here to ask questions.
So we're in a
yes or no?
No. So we're in a formal planning commission meeting. The agenda has been approved by the planning commission as far as the timing for public comment. So we're past the public comment period. As far as the setup for the open house and whatnot, it doesn't include this interaction here. And so
when it says we can ask questions, you're telling me the answer is no.
You can ask us questions, but we'll be over there by the posters.
That's not public though.
It's not a community conversation.
Not into the public record.
Yeah, I think it's good feedback for staff because we do want to make sure that you're getting what you get out of the meeting. The current one it's just not set up that way. So for this one, this is how this one's set up. But I think it's really good feedback that we can take back and then make the next open house series that we do better than this, where we can have that kind of like interaction and community discussion.
So if we stand over there as a group, but one person talks at a time to all of you, so that we can all hear each other's questions and we can all hear the responses. I don't want to have to go approach a person I've never met before, ask my question. Maybe he doesn't know. I bring it up to somebody else. It's too confusing to have all of us talk with all of you. How about if we go over there because you want us over there, and then when we ask our questions in front of each other and you guys answer us so that we can all hear it at once.
I don't think we're
5 minutes, come back. Right?
So
It's not in the agenda, so we'll answer that.
Yeah.
We should.
Why would you have public comment before the information?
That
That
would be
makes
my
no
question.
sense.
Yeah.
So
In-
public comment,
In,
this is how, because this is within a planning commission meeting. That's how the planning commission meetings go. So it's comments on the agenda. And this is typically the format for it, but I do admit it probably could have been organized a little better to put public comment at the end so that you could have some discussion.
So,
Are we not free to change the order and record it? We all did agree.
I guess we could ask the planning commission and not the city staff.
yeah, these are all great questions in context pertaining to what we're talking about, but it's not in context to the open house. So right now, I think it's a good time to just vote to call a recess so that we can do the open house as planned, open some questions, and then as the city said, there'll be later meetings to come back and address everything.
do we
It's
know
just
what
not
that's supposed to be? Yeah, an idea.
We're nailing down a schedule by the end of the day Friday, then we'll have that posted online and we'll be announcing it at city council. So we'll have it advertised and we'll ask the communications manager to post. Do some social media blasts and anyone who's emailed, we can do an email blast of what dates will be for different events.
So to be clear and set expectation, in the next meeting that you choose, in the public hearing, all of us will have ample time to communicate our questions. In that period of time, no one will be cut off. It doesn't matter how long it takes, so that we can have our questions answered like we can here today.
And if we send emails, get a response to.
Yes.
And
So-
it would be a special meeting, not the next planning commission meeting.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing that we're hearing is a public hearing format is dictated by certain rules. So it wouldn't necessarily be a public hearing because there's very specific time limits on speaking. There's no interaction between the staff and the person that's making the testimony. And so it's not a question or answer situation. However, I think what is the most important thing is maybe the next open house isn't attached to a scheduled planning commission meeting or a city council meeting that has to follow formal rules. But it's an open house that's set in a forum that's like more like this, less of a staff interaction, which is what we historically have been used to doing, and kind of sit with a question or answer type of thing. Because I think that's what I'm hearing is the kind of thing that you guys are after.
Will that be recorded and made public?
We can record it, absolutely.
Okay, because it needs to be made
So-
public.
That's
I think
absolutely,
that-
that's what I'm hearing, but it won't follow the formal planning commission meeting rules. It won't follow the public hearing formal meeting rules or city council formal meeting rules.
So if we have questions on
Just a
this
moment.
meeting, we can go to the next city council meeting in their time
That's what
for comments and bring the questions there.
So,
Because all
but-
you're doing is making recommendations to the council. The council can accept them, not accept them, or some variation.
correct. So the public comment portion of these public meetings is a testimony. It's not a question or answer between the person that is giving the public comment or the testimony and the body that they're doing it in front of, or staff. So those are just the rules that we have to follow. So if you come to council and you want to make testimony and say this, it's in the public record, and typically we respond, not in the moment, but after, because we have to follow certain rules.
And what time frame would be expected that we would receive a response?
I don't want to speak for the city clerk because he's the one that knows the rules better than I do. But I mean,
So if we send an email and there's no response in a month or 2 months, that's probably not acceptable.
I would agree that yes, that's not acceptable.
That's what I'd like to know.
Thank you, Larissa. Thank you, city staff. I think at this point, we're just gonna entertain a motion to call a recess to start the open house. So, let's go ahead and vote on it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. The meeting is recessed at 6:59 and we will come back together after the open house.
Nobody has tell the record, but we can only make it to that they all have to listen to one at a time. There's a funny amount of either now and now.
There you go.
And that's the work done. You just want to
Chair Lane.
Yeah, let's call back.
40 people, and that makes sense, like, I don't know, if other people are short of people. Some of them are planning commissions, some are staff. So that's what I'm saying is. It's. Other staff, that whole one, like, got that there. She's looked at, there were a few people there.
Your property. Your property.
You really? Probably don't know. Yeah, she's like, yeah. He's the black man. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna run it. I wanna just.
Are they basically talking about putting the carbon in the property? That's all.
I also want to get.
I mean, Mars Board, yes, and then they can do house too. Yeah. So. You know, that you should. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Sound like you're fiscal responsible.
City Hall.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is just, you know, I'll never forget. Everybody talking, you've been out.
Seaside.
Yeah, but I mean, like, driven the org, yeah. So like, well, I did that one, yeah. Decades ago. Because we heard the organization, and it's like, so it's overrun with crap. And we forgot to do all our sounds. And all those words. You know, everywhere, it's just not, you know. I mean, I just randomly saw your photos, I didn't really know. Randomly saw your photos. Oh God, lost her on video. Oh, the fun will be like, oh, these parts. There we go. That's why I thought that was. She is intelligent. This is what you know what I mean? So. That's right. That's what you go. That's what I want that. They haven't said, they didn't say anything on it. Talk about it.
You bet.
So thank you.
I, you know. Yeah.
So.
Learn that like. No. Just.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You don't believe the official.
Double that.
News. Summer stage. Music, you see the difference in volume of doing that.
And passive.
And passes. And the 5 foot house of affordable housing.
Yeah.
That's what they're. Over that designated zone, changes. That's the digging that we're gonna have to do into the. Former city council person. There's incentives for additional time. So they can go.
This thing did. I know actually did. Everybody wants to do. Yeah, we have to do all of it. Western Washington. And so the state. Has a process, which I think is a smart process, says. You can't just be like, hey, come on, people, they really look, you can't tell them not to come. When they get here. So that's the really big one. Yeah.
We just need more.
No, we haven't gotten any of the super nitty gritty yet either. We've been getting this kind of higher level presentation about the law. Ways that the laws have changed and how it's affecting cities. How different cities are dealing with it, like Carnation is like, hell no. And you're gonna right, and then it's gonna impact their. As far as I some cities are like, they're like, no, you're and I think Carnation is one of those, but again, I agree. Yeah. So, and Duvall has been like, well, I think it's just kind of a.
And yet they're.
Like, we could end up occupied, and then it could be a dumb things you wouldn't even think about. Water or, you know, stuff that's come out. So like, hey, I think.
You don't want Yes. So. You you don't want anything. So. What really matters. Really what I know, I'm not saying, not, you know, but. Really good. What they. You know, far away. Like. So like. So what would. You know, me. Like. Yeah.
Oh, so, yes. But at the same time. Yeah. So. Sure. And now. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I don't know either. There was a question. Okay.
Okay, we're recording. Okay, the July 22nd, 2026 Planning Commission is called back to order at 7:52 p.m. Go right on to unfinished business. The next item is unfinished business. Does staff have any unfinished business for the commission?
Not for this evening.
Except you have
It was like 30, right?
I think so, yeah. Hearing none, we will proceed to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
All those opposed, say nay. We are adjourned at 7:52.